What's up, people? Welcome back to Brick City. This is your boy, the real Charlemagne. Hey, don't forget to follow me on all platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Anywhere you can find a podcast, hey, I'm your man. Follow me. A lot of stuff going on. Just had an election. Hope everybody faring well with that. Hey, it's a lot of turmoil in the country right now because of that. I'm not that politic person, but politics is important. So hey, it's important. It's definitely for everybody to get out there and vote. Regardless of whatever, however, vote for the person that's going to benefit you and your community the best. You know what I'm saying? I mean, at the end of the day, they politicians, but hey, you gotta fill out which one's the best one to suit you and your community. So, hey, next time it's time to vote, hey, make sure you exercise that right because these elections just getting out of hand. And people of color not showing up to the polls in these midterms. We got to do that. So, we just got to do better with that. But today, I got a guy met a few years ago. He helped my son. My son was going to college and bumped into this dude at the local veterans office. He was doing some paperwork, and hit it off. Found out we had a mutual friend, how small the world is.
Yeah.
And then boom, we've been connected ever since. But today I got Mr. Fred Brock. Hey, appreciate you coming on, bro. How you doing out there?
Yes, sir. I'm good. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to second what you said on the matter of voting. Voting is our civic duty.
Yeah.
A lot of people in our historical past died for that opportunity for us to get out there and vote. And personally, my background, I'm a political scientist. That's my undergraduate concentration of study. So I definitely agree 100% with what you're saying. And I appreciate you putting that out there because that's the one thing we do have the opportunity to control. Even when we feel like, the government might not be working in our best favor, if you never took the time to get out there and let your voice be heard through your vote, I mean, you really can't, you don't have an argument there. So I appreciate that.
Exactly. And I totally agree, man. I was like, you don't have a log in the fire unless you put one in it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then if whoever you vote for, they promise you something, they say they're doing this, you got to hold them accountable once they get in office. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And like I said, it's neither, I don't get into that red, blue. I try not to get into that because at the end of the day, it might be somebody red that might be for you. We two minorities. We two minorities in this country. And being a vet, and being a minority by skin tone. You know what I'm saying?
What people don't understand is, if you look back, and I'm not trying to get too deep in history and all that stuff, but if you look back in the civil rights era and all that stuff, there was only one common denominator as to why we were not able to use our civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't have anything to do with red or blue dealing with a political party.
Right.
So, I mean, now we did have people like, LBJ who was the main reason why we have the Civil Rights Act. But, there were, if you look at everything in totality, you know where I'm going.
Yeah. So yeah, man, know you're a Marine vet, and you served a little time over across the pond.
Yes, sir.
So, we want to talk about, how life from that point on has changed for you since you transitioned to the civilian world from the military life, and then to the civilian audience understanding that transition, because a lot of our civilians don't understand the culture of the military, and then coming out of the military and understanding, some of the things that we got to adapt to that they never had to deal with. You know what I'm saying?
It's vice versa too, though,
Yeah.
God. Being that, I'm glad you let me into that, so I can go ahead and talk. But my whole reason for even joining the military was based on my circumstances. When I grew up, in my community, people looked at folks that joined the military as you were rich. You had all these big opportunities to take care of your family and, others around you.
Right.
But when I actually got in, it showed me that there was a lot more going on that could help me build my character and teach me how to treat people, learn how to speak in a way that was professional, and just, on and on. And in my time, I spent 21 years. I had many different opportunities while I was on active duty. So, my career went from everywhere from being a recruiter in Jackson, Mississippi, to sitting behind a 50 cal in Iraq and Afghanistan, doing something that was completely out of my job description as a maintenance person in the military. So, it a big, a broad spectrum of learning across that time.
Right. Yeah, man, that's awesome, man. I mean, I'm quite sure that was a big experience down there in Jackson, Mississippi, because that poverty level down there is
most definitely.
Something unreal, something that like I said, I come from Eastern North Carolina, and it's a poverty-stricken areas here, but when you start going down into the Alabama, Mississippi areas, it's a whole nother different level of poverty.
Hey, don't get mad at me because I'm originally from Florida. I've been living here for 12 years. I changed my residency. I'm a North Carolina resident. But until you get down to Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, I don't think a lot of people understand the differences in culture when it comes to, somebody living in the deep South and how, just by virtue of them and their generational attitudes, the differences, when I came up to North Carolina, when I was going through, my schooling, it's called MCT for the Marine Corps, people were calling me country, and I thought North Carolina was considered country. So, even my own wife tells me that I have a way of talking that is just, to her, just sounds crazy. I got this lingo that is just very dialect. Different for what she's used to. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the dialect. And I was stationed with guys from Florida. And like I said, it's a different tone, it's a different dialect. And from different regions, different things means different things. And it was something that they used to say, man, I forgot what it was. But up here, it wasn't good. But for them, it was like the best thing in the world. You know what I'm saying? It was like that, it's something bad, how super bad was with James Brown, but it meant good in the essence of things. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. We got many different, they call us Florida men.
Right. But yeah, man. But push it forward. So you just learning all those skill sets while you was in the Marine Corps. And then like you said, going and experiencing life overseas and having to adapt. Like you said, you was a maintenance, but you want a 50 cal, and people that don't understand what a 50 cal is definitely it's an armor piercing weapon. I actually worked a 50 cal too. I was in artillery, so
man,
as well. So, but
hey, I spent time with an artillery unit.
Yeah. So those bullets, they'll do something to you. They'll do something to you in that thing. But push it forward. So based off of those and those life experiences in the military, and then like I said, push into that retirement. When you start getting close to retirement, how do you start building to transition to civilian life?
Okay, so this is a long story, but I think it's very important to anybody who's listening to you, because it teaches you that nothing is guaranteed in life. The only thing that's guaranteed is surely as you're born, you're going to die. So early in my career, actually my first tour in Iraq. I was one of those individuals that came in the military. Like I said, I thought all the rich folks was in the military, and my whole goal was to retire and, do all these big things. But I had an injury occur on my first deployment to Iraq, and it changed everything. I was put on a medical board. Let me back. I was on a limited duty board. In the Marine Corps, they do a limited duty board before they determine that you're not healthy enough to stay on active duty and put you on a med board. So I was on a limited duty board. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't saving no money, because I was just living for the moment. I didn't believe in education because, growing up in a poverty-stricken community, the only thing, the light at the end of the tunnel is what's on the end of the block. You really don't see anything. So I couldn't see the value of education. But that injury made me have to refocus and take a whole new direction in my life. So I started slowly going to a community college, learning more about, just education in general, talking with individuals, and learn that, even though my military career could have been taken away, the one thing that you can never lose once you attain it is higher learning. And it doesn't matter if you get an academic degree or a certified skill licensure. CDLs are a big thing now, and it gives a good payback once you get involved. But the bottom line is, once you become educated in something more than you're used to, the opportunity increases. So from 2004, when I started going to a community college, I never looked back. And I took a lot of my weekends. I gave up a lot of things just to focus on the fact that I knew that education, if I had to get out of the military, would at least allow me to open up doors to gainful opportunities. And fast forward to 2017, from 2004 to 2008, I earned an associate degree. 2012, I was able to get a bachelor's degree in political science, like I was saying. And then 2017, 2 years after I retired out of the military, I used all of the military's education benefits to help me achieve a master's degree. And without that master's degree, I don't think I would have had the opportunity that I've had since I left the military. Even though I retired, it still didn't guarantee me a good position on the outside world. And I don't know if, this is in my circle when I talk to, my friends and family. I always talk about how, as a Black male, particularly, you have to work 3 times as hard to prove to the powers that be that you have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to do what other folks may be mediocre in doing. So long story short, that injury made me look at education as a lifelong thing. I'm the third person in my family to even get any type of higher education. And, I passed that on to my nieces and nephews and my kids, who I have a daughter that's at NC State right now, and it's because of what I instilled in her.
That's dope right there, man. Good. That's
yes,
a good
sir.
story. Good story, because like you said, a lot of people take that for granted, education. And as you said, though, education doesn't always mean a 4-year institution. It doesn't always mean associate's degree. Like you said, it's just a progression of knowledge within whatever area you want to go into.
Yes, sir. That's the bigger issue.
That's the bigger thing. And like you said, the CDL thing, that's the way a young lady I went to school with, my age, she's 40-something years old, but she said, hey, I'm going to get my CDL. She was like,
oh, yeah. CDL like, drive, with the CDL license, if you're an owner operator of your own 18-wheeler, you're making big money.
You're making big money, right?
Six figure money. my sister's old man is a truck driver, you know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and he does over the road driving,
Okay.
and he definitely makes some good money.
Right.
He not short on change. I can tell you
Right. And that's the
that.
thing. It's like, she was like, all my kids grown, and she's like, is it the point of life, she's not connected to anybody. She was like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
why not hit the road and make that money? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's her
I mean, yeah,
that's her retirement plan.
yes, sir. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned your master's. So what did you receive your master's in?
Okay, so you got to hear me out because I'm big on these stories, man.
Okay.
So my brother, who I look up to both of my brothers. They kind of raised me. My father died when I was 12 years old. Really, and before that, really wasn't in our lives. So they raised me, and both of them, man, we were some bad seeds, man. Just let me put it that way. But my
Gotcha.
oldest brother took it out on a limb by himself. He didn't have anybody, to really motivate him and have him go out and, be successful in life. But he took the risk of going out and getting a college degree. So that kind of, I watched my brothers and how they were moving. And I was, once that issue happened with me, I was like, wow, I definitely see the benefit of what they're doing. So if I get in that lane, I'm pretty sure that, because I'm not stupid, I just didn't apply myself in high school. I definitely can open up some doors for myself if I go that route.
Okay. So it was dope. So what did you end up doing with the degree?
Okay, so I love public service, and many people, if you join the military, most people have some sort of public service desire or helping skills. So my whole goal was, it goes back to what you were saying earlier about, our rights to vote and getting out there and doing civic duties and stuff like that. So my whole goal in getting a master's degree, because it's in public administration, was to be able to write policy.
Gotcha.
My original goal was to leave the military and get in, a local level government position to where I can make change in the local community.
Okay.
And as of right now, I haven't been able to that's my end goal.
Right.
But I haven't been able to do it just yet. But as you know, because you mentioned, I work for the North Carolina Department of Veterans Affairs, and I was able to work in Greenville as a veteran service officer, and not only work out of that area helping service members, but most people don't realize I was the first Black manager in that office. Wow. So I opened up a whole new demographic of customers that used to feel uncomfortable even coming to that office. Exactly. So what I did was, since I couldn't take one route, in getting into local level government like I wanted to, I had to find a lane to where I could still impact the community, but just do it in a different way. Yeah. And, as a veterans service officer, you can change a person's life like that. When they come into your office and they have a concern, any injury, illness, accident, disorder that they feel was caused by active duty service, if they went to other offices and they weren't receiving, that dignity and respect that they deserve, and you offer it to them, 9 times out of 10, you're going to open them up to benefits that they may not have been eligible for before, or they just receive limited support in trying to get it.
Gotcha.
And in my case, I was able to, which makes me feel, that was probably the only job I ever had where every day I felt good coming home. Because every time a decision came back to where I was able to put some money in somebody's pocket, I knew that would, help them pay their mortgage, help them pay their rent, pay their car note, get them off the street if they were homeless. Because, homeless veterans is a real thing.
Yeah.
And even help those individuals that may have been on the brink of suicide because of the financial issues they might have been having.
Gotcha.
So I haven't been able to fully go down the lane that I want to, but I feel like everything I'm doing right now is kind of leading up to that. And it's going to bring me back to the community, which, I find myself really interested in.
Exactly. And like you said, just being in that realm, veterans, especially in this in our state alone, being involved with veterans is definitely a plus because of the veteran population that's here. You know what I'm saying?
There's almost 1 million veterans in North Carolina, 700,000 veterans.
Yeah. So you being in the management level positions, people start listening to you. You know what I'm saying?
It was evident, because the traffic increase. Because when I first got there, and I hate to feel like this, but when you see things that are kind of just clear and blatant, you either could do two things. You can turn a blind eye and not do anything,
right? Or
you can have the courage to step up and do what you need to do to make change. So my whole goal was to even though I appreciate the opportunity from the guy who hired me, my goal getting into that position was to eventually phase him out and run the office how I wanted to.
Right.
Because I seen that there was a gap in the way people were receiving their services.
Gotcha.
So once I was able to get that position, the traffic increased, people's attitudes changed. They didn't feel like we were, not taking care of them. And, to this day, the people still remember me when they see me around in the VA or around the community. Even though I'm not from Greenville, they still remember me just because of the love and dedication I provided in my services.
Exactly. Look, and I appreciate you, brother. Because like you said,
my goal is.
The thing about it, I went in there. I think we was almost about to miss the deadline for him to receive the VA scholarship. He was like, "Yo, I'm gonna push it through. I'm gonna make sure we get it there. And look, as long as it's there on their desk before this date, it'll happen. It'll happen.
Yep, they got a process.
You got a process, but look, you made sure it was there. You say, I'm overnight it. I'm gonna get it there. I'm gonna fax it. Plus, I'm gonna mail it. So it's gonna get there. And you made sure it happened, man. Like I said, he finished his degree at ECU in 4 years and was done. He's out in Denver, Colorado now.
Yeah, I used to tell people all the time, I love to under promise and over deliver.
Yeah.
I can't control the decision that the higher authority is going to make, but I can definitely put in 100% of my heart and my effort to make sure that you get what you deserve.
Yeah. All right, they're switching gears. You mentioned the word finance.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned money, and your like you said, your youthful projection of money is totally different now than you was 17-year-old Fred, 47-year-old Fred, 46-year-old Fred. You know what I'm saying?
Completely
different perception. So like transitioning from the, going through the ranks, through the military, and then transition to the civilian world, how did you start managing your funds and say, hey, at some point, I'm getting out of this military thing. I ain't gonna have the BAQ. I ain't gonna have the other amenities, the base housing, things like that. So I gotta account for those things once I get out in the civilian world. How did you start wrapping your hands around your financial situation into where you are now?
Oh yeah, definitely appreciate that question because that's something I always talk about with the service members that I work with right now. Because sometimes in the military, when you are receiving all those allowances and different benefits, it puts you in a position where you have this inflated value of yourself. you start living a lifestyle that's not sustainable. You know, you're not really focusing on how much the actual basic pay is that you're making. So I told you, back in 2004, I had my wake up call, and I learned that, if you're not putting money aside and you're not saving, you're not investing in your own self, you're going to have trouble on the back end. So one of the things I did, I think it was like 2008, I went to, it's called the advanced course. It's for gunnery sergeants in the Marine Corps. And they started talking to us about, the thrift savings plan and saving and investing and just better managing your money. And I was looking at myself like, man, I never even heard of TSP or thrift savings. And I've been around almost, 2008 to yeah, I had been around almost 12, 13 years in the military.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I'm way behind, man. So from that day, sometimes it just takes different benchmarks to get you started. But
Sure.
On that day, I started with the thrift savings plan,
Mm-hmm.
which for people who never served in the military, it's kind of like a civilian 401k.
Mm-hmm.
So I started investing money in the thrift savings plan. I started talking to people who were doing good things with money. The best way to learn is to talk to somebody who is successful at what they're doing. So outside of learning more about saving and investing, I also started talking to people about home ownership. And what a lot of people don't realize is home ownership is the biggest asset you can have. There was a time in our past where we couldn't even own property, one. And then when we finally were able to acquire property, they had, off the record type of rules, like redlining that would put us in bad areas to where our property wouldn't have the same value as somebody who was living in a better community. So having learned all that stuff and also going to school, I started just reading more and immersing myself in self-learning. So a lot of my knowledge that I have now about finance and being financially literate started with myself. I took a look in the mirror. You know your limitations, and then you seek self-improvement. And from that point on, it was like a snowball effect. I always been a person who appreciated money. I never disrespected money because, I didn't have any growing up, but I just didn't have the guidance to put it in the proper places that it needed to be. So, just getting back to what you're saying, purchasing my first home was probably where I really started getting like 100% dedicated to maintaining my finances, being on solid financial ground, and just never looking back, saving and investing. And instead of just buying things that weren't going to appreciate with value, I started focusing my money in areas that, would, if I needed to turn it into liquid cash for whatever reason, I would easily be able to do that. So it was just a learning process. And then once I got the current job I have right now, financial planning is one of our areas that we like to talk to service members about. Mm-hmm. There's three main things that we kind of focus on when you get out the military. Is whether you're going to have adequate housing when you get out, because without fulfilling the basic needs, you're not going to have the energy or be able to go out and do anything else. We focus on having the peer support you need and, family support to make sure that if you fall on hard times, somebody is there for you. And we focus on financial planning, because the choices that you make early on in your life dealing with your money is usually going to have some sort of long-term consequence, whether good or bad.
Exactly. And like you said, I think that's so huge right there in anybody's life, because in transitioning from college to corporate America or what have you, your job skill, you go
Mm-hmm.
from a high hop job to a corporate America job, and then like you
Mm-hmm.
said, that gap, you like, oh man, I'm only making $4 an hour. Now you're making $14 an hour. And then it's like,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
then you're like,
yeah.
oh, well, I'm rich. I'm making a lot of money. But then, like you said, you start spending like you're making a lot of money. And then you realize it ain't a lot of money.
Yeah,
And then,
and one of the things we talk
yeah,
about, is when you are getting out, we have a military comparison
uh-huh,
tool that we use to show just how much value the pay and allowances and benefits you receive on active duty are
right,
worth. So it
right.
shows you as a civilian how much you would have to make to just continue that quality of life and that standard of living that you created for yourself.
Hey, look,
So
man.
so if you're getting that basic allowance for housing or BAH that they
Mm-hmm.
call it, and you got this expensive home, but when you get out, you're in a minimum wage job, it's going to be hard to sustain that lifestyle, because
Exactly.
that's a major pay cut getting out of the military.
And I told my
Even as a
daughter,
retiree, I
yeah,
seen a major pay cut.
right, right. Hey, look, and I tell my daughter that. My daughter, probably her first enlistment, she's like, Dad, what you think about me getting out? I said, I don't, baby. She said, why? I said, because think about it. Right there, she was making probably like 40 grand a year.
Mm-hmm.
But she got full medical benefits. And then, like you said, all the
Absolutely.
all the allowances. And I said, baby girl, you realize when my granddaughter gets sick, right now you call Chief and be like, Chief, hey, baby sick. And then you take her to the doctor. Chief be like, handle your business. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Out here, they're gonna be like, okay, what you want me to do? You better come to work.
And I got an example for that. I just had an example this year on how your life could just, if I wasn't where, if I didn't have the opportunity I had being able to retire in the military, how my life could have changed.
Right.
So back in March, I was shooting ball with, my son outside,
Mm-hmm.
and I tore my Achilles tendon.
Oh wow.
Major injury,
Yeah.
so that took me out of work for 2 months. Two
Wow.
months. And the good thing about it is, as a retiree, I have TRICARE. So
Yeah.
I didn't have any medical expenses
Right.
except for, any copay that went along with prescription. Matter of fact, I didn't even pay copay for prescriptions because I got the prescriptions off of base.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I didn't have any medical debt.
Right.
And the biggest thing is, in the job that I have family medical leave assistance.
Oh, gotcha.
So even though I wasn't getting paid,
Uh-huh.
I had the opportunity to heal for those 2 months.
Right.
Whereas somebody who, I don't know where I'm going because it'll be different for other people, but
Yeah.
depending on your employer, if you don't have those types of benefits or you don't have a secondary stream of income coming in and you're solely dependent on that one paycheck,
Yeah.
that could really uproot your household.
Everything.
And,
Everything.
I wasn't getting paid. So if I wasn't getting a retired check
Right.
or, any VA benefit or whatever benefits that
Right.
I'm getting, I would have been between a rock and a hard place. So
Right. Right. Right.
you got to respect them, the opportunities that come from things
Look,
like
I tell people all the
TRICARE
time.
and yeah.
Yeah. Tell people all the time, man. Especially, our population of veterans around here. I'd be like, like take advantage of something. If it's not housing, take your education benefits. Are you using
Mm-hmm.
those? Have you applied for VA? Have you tried to do voc rehab? What have you done? To try to get a step ahead. Because
Mm-hmm.
you can't keep crying to me about what's happening, and you have all these resources right here that you could utilize because of your veteran status. You know what I'm saying?
And let's not just stick with veterans, because
Yeah.
the Department of Labor in any state that you go to also offers resources to regular civilians too.
Right.
It might not be, called vocational rehabilitation and employment, but they're going to have avenues to where you can get training, and you can be put in contact with employers that are looking for individuals to put on the payroll. I always talk about
NC Works has a program in North Carolina
and that's where I'm going.
Yeah, NC Works. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, NC Works. What people don't realize is, as a veteran, we're considered a vulnerable population.
Right.
And just like anybody, and I hate to use the reference, but it's true. People that are coming out of jail, people that are finding it hard to find employment, but they don't want to, seek unemployment benefits. That's their job, to help you find a gainful and steady job. So the benefit is huge.
Right.
And the state, depending on the state that you live in, a lot of times they're going to want to keep the talent that they create within the state. And what does that do? That brings money back to the community. And, it just helps you to increase your availabilities for finding better opportunities.
Exactly. Yeah. And like I said, I think a lot of people, out here, the opportunities there. You just sometimes you gotta search for them, but sometimes they land right in your face, and you just don't take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But I know you took advantage of a lot of opportunities, man. I know your wealth of knowledge, man, and I really appreciate you sharing a lot, of where you came from and where you at. So what the future looking like for Fred Brock, as far as beyond, like I said, I know you said you want to get into that policy, but what else are you trying to get into? I know. Look, you done some shirts for me. I actually won on the show before. Look, he's an entrepreneur too, people. So what other skills does Fred Brock bring to the table that a lot of people should know about Fred Brock?
Oh yeah, and I'm not trying to come off as like bragging, but I think a lot as Black people, we need to understand that there are individuals out there who you can aspire to be like, and that look like you, who didn't come from the best of circumstances, but made a way based on, determination and overcoming challenges and barriers that we can't control.
Right.
So in addition to just serving in the military, I told you I sought higher education, but I also I'm an accredited financial counselor through AFCPE. What that allows me to do is help people with financial planning and education. Like you mentioned, I make, as a side hustle, I make vinyl print, decals, T-shirts, hats. I support my wife, who's a business owner, Naturally Bare Soaps, LLC. And you got your own soap, the Charlemagne.
Charlemagne, yeah, she came up with that soap. I appreciate that, man.
For me, it's all about, creating generational wealth, something that wasn't there for me, and just creating a legacy for my family, man.
Yeah.
And the way to do that, I feel like I can do that, is through just taking advantage of any educational opportunity I have, and not limiting myself to what people feel like they think I can do. Because there's a lot of stereotypes about us, particularly that there's only two places we're going to end up in our life.
Right.
And unfortunately, I have situations in my family where I have, issues like that. Back home, not, I'm talking about nieces, nephews, and all that.
Right.
But that's not the rule for us.
Right.
We can be the exception.
Right.
So outside of talking about finance, education, career development, resource services, I try to do anything that's going to reverse that stereotype and take away that old narrative about who we are. I come from a family that didn't have a father in the household, but the so-called belief is that if a black child comes up without a father, now we do want black fathers in the household.
Oh, definitely.
I'm not saying that we don't. But what I'm saying is, even if your situation does put you in that position, you can create a way out of no way. I'm definitely proof that you can do whatever it is that you want to do in your life, as long as you set your mind to it and get rid of any limiting belief that you may have just based on what other people have said or what you think is true. You got to step outside your comfort zone and try things. And sometimes you're going to fail, but a person who's never failed never tried.
Right. Right.
So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, and like I said, man, I spoke to some kids a couple of weeks ago, and it was pretty much, I was telling them about my situation. My parents, they was out building their own careers, and I live with my grandmother. That's a statistic within itself as well. Like, without a parent in the home, that's a statistic. And then boom, I had a kid in high school.
Oh yeah, I remember. I heard your
story. So look, I had kids in high school, so multiple would. But that's another, that's another stereotype that we have. Once you give that, it's like you incarcerated, you selling drugs, you become a deadbeat father. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they expect. But I'm like, you got to break those stereotypes. And like I said, it's like a lot of times, other people want to fall into it because they feel like it's no other way. Because they don't see, if you don't see it, it's hard for you to believe.
Absolutely. And there you go.
And what you said, once you see it, once you start seeing it, then you're like, oh, I could do this. I can make this happen. I could change this narrative and not be with the status quo. And look, as people expect us to be. So that was words of wise right there, that you look like in that movie that said message. You know what I'm saying? Because
and I'm one of those people, man. Yeah. I believe I'm definitely not a crab in a barrel, man. I believe that any information that I receive or something that I learn, that's for me to share. You can't be one of those people that, oh, I got mine, now you got to get yours. You got to get this information and knowledge and have it for transfer.
Right.
And if anybody, there's people that ask me, because a lot of times people see what's on the surface, because I got my vices. I like jewelry. I like, all the, I like fun stuff. So when people focus on stuff like that, instead of focusing on what it took in my life to get to this point, I always revert back to, how they can accomplish the bigger goal instead of just focusing on that instant gratification or, the material things that you might see that I have. And that's another thing that with learning and maturity, I actually have learned to grow past too.
Right.
I was into designer. I was into, all the stuff that these young men and women nowadays are into. But at a certain point in your life, you gotta really look at the bigger picture and ask yourself, what is this going to do for you when your kids are, 20, 30 years old? You know what I mean? Right. What kind of legacy are you creating for them?
Right.
If it's not something they can take and improve their life, you need to make an adjustment.
Right.
So I guess that goes along with, as far as if you want to talk about me giving some finance, what got me to where I am in finance and financial stability, is just really taking a look at what's important, really understanding what's a need and what's a want, and, being able to put that one off and, put it in my back pocket, because that's where it needs to be. Right. A lot of times you don't need that new Hellcat that's out there because you see everybody else get it.
Exactly.
You know, you just
Exactly.
got to stick with what you have and
Right.
get from point A to B. You
Right.
know, open up new opportunities for yourself. So when you truly can afford that Hellcat, you can go
Yeah.
out there and you still living within your means,
Exactly.
and you know you're not jeopardizing your future because of that.
Right. 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 And look, you said a mouthful right there. Above your means.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't grasp that concept about above your means. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if you always doing this and nothing coming back, if you always pushing out and ain't nothing coming back, you living above your means because it's too
Yeah.
much going out and nothing coming back in. And
Yeah.
I think, until we grasp that also the understanding of how that operates,
Mm-hmm.
we're in a world of trouble. Because then, I said that's the unfortunate things that's going on in so many cultures right now. It's like they living above their means, but then when their means run out, they want to go take somebody else's means.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They want to rob and
Yeah.
steal from other
Yeah.
people that, what I'm saying, because their means run out, then they want to rob and steal from you because of their means lacking, and I'm like, that ain't the way to be. You know what I mean?
And check this out. When me and you came up,
Yeah.
you know, there wasn't no social media.
No.
So we was either out in the street talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the information didn't pass as fast as it does now.
Exactly.
You know, we were talking on the phone.
Right.
We didn't have camera phones or where we could
No.
share pictures. Oh, look what old boy got. You know, so that was kind of a blessing for us, man.
Exactly.
We didn't have to go through that.
Right.
These young folks nowadays, man, the stress that creates by itself is just crazy. And that makes people want to go take something from somebody else because they feel like if Joe got it, I deserve to have it too.
Gotta have it.
Yeah,
man. I was talking to somebody about that last night. These reality shows.
It's
a blessing and a curse, man. Because especially nothing against our female population out that's listening. These BBLs, right? So North Carolina A&T just got funding for a case study about how social media is affecting young Black women.
Yeah.
Because of that push for the BBLs and the tummy tucks and just these augmentations of your body, is it what's we already know what's causing it, but what is it because what they're trying to find is the actual diagnosis.
I was just about to say.
Yeah, they're trying to find a diagnosis for this. Problem. Yeah, for this problem, and that's what they're trying to find out, man. And it's it's really sad of the things that they're going through because they see an individual on TV that they feel is beautiful or pretty because they're getting all this attention, but your day-to-day life don't allow you to seek that same attention.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
saying? and one thing about being men, even though men, there's some men out there doing it too.
Yeah.
But the one thing about us, overall is what God gave us, we got to work with, man.
Right.
We don't got no, it's hardly any services out there that's going to change what we got going on.
Yeah. Like you said, a lot. It's some men that's doing things, but but at the end of the day, man, it's like, I think now these ladies, it's, unfortunately, it's a lot of, it's a lot of men that are true men not around anymore. So it's like now the ladies in competition with each other, fighting over those men that are, that's out there, because there's men that's incarcerated, men that are in a lifestyle of being homosexual, which I have no problem with, but as far as like men, everyday men, that's heterosexual men, and actually on the straight and narrow that's doing positive things, is few and far between there. So It's like, I think it becomes a competition with them now, because it's like, where the men at? You know what I'm saying? So we gotta figure out how to attract the men as much as we can. How, because it's not that many men out here left. So
Well,
I think that's another thing that causes that sense of urgency within that population of women, that they gotta do something to separate themselves from the next female. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
And but
Yeah,
yeah,
and
it's a
and
bad thing.
I think eventually that's going to pass, man.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
has to sooner or later.
yeah. It
But
has to.
yeah, it's definitely an issue.
Yeah.
And I always talk about, with my daughters. Um, my daughter that's off at college right now.
Mm-hmm.
I just sent her a text the other day, telling her to love herself, man.
Right.
Love yourself. Don't let anybody tell you what you can't do, and just be you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let
Mm-hmm.
anybody change who you are based on what they believe you should
Right.
be. Be
Right.
yourself and love yourself, because it all starts with self love.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
how us as fathers love our
Love our
daughters.
daughters. Yep.
Yeah,
Love our kids, period, but definitely our daughters.
yeah. Most definitely. I got 3 girls, so I mean,
Oh man.
oh
Cool.
man,
Hey,
yeah,
salute you, brother.
yeah.
I got two, boy. Boy, I tell you,
Yeah.
they're a handful, but I love them to death, man. But
Yeah. I mean, and just not to get too far off track, but even with like, I he's my stepson, but I call him my son because he is my son. On a daily basis. I'm the one that's in his life. So and I have been teaching him different things. We've had situations where we ran into where I really had to come out of character.
mm-hmm.
Because of somebody trying to either disrespect him or me. But I always use those as teachable moments, to show him that, the world can be an ugly place, but as long as you do what you need to do and treat people with care and love, it'll all work out in the end for you.
Right.
And another thing is, don't be afraid. If you want to lean on my shoulder and you want to express yourself, you want to cry to me, go ahead. Because in my day, you couldn't cry.
Right.
And that's why a lot of black men,
Hard.
Generation X black men, because
Yeah.
that's where I'm coming from,
Mm-hmm.
harbor so many ill feelings and anger, because we never had the opportunity to have a father figure to cry on the shoulder,
No. No.
and express ourselves. So I always, in addition to telling my daughters about things like that, I spread that on to him too,
Right.
because it's going to make him a better man for the community.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need more angry young black men out there
No.
getting into trouble. We need the ones that are going to make change and positive change and make our communities better. So
Right. Yeah, man. Well, bro, like I said, man, like I appreciate you, dog. Look, we done been in this thing for about an hour now. Look, I don't want to take too much more of your time. But yeah, you just drop a few more seeds out there, and then we're gonna roll out. But what I want you to touch on, man, is basically perseverance. That's what I want you to touch on real quick.
okay. So one of the things that and man, I don't know if you were reading my mind or what, but one of the things that I do as an advisor is I create curriculum for our courses that we do. So we got to come up with innovative ideas and stuff like that. And one of the things that we focus on in transition is resiliency. And in addition to resiliency, we talk about grit. Because a lot of people believe you have to be this highly intelligent person to be successful in life. But I'm telling you, I am an example of somebody who can graduate high school with a 1.9 GPA, not because I wasn't smart, just because I didn't apply myself, and then still, become successful later on in life. And that all comes through perseverance, resiliency, and grit. Because grit is going to come into play when intelligence doesn't matter. You could be the smartest person in the world, but if you're too lazy to go out there and take the steps you need to go outside your comfort zone, that's just wasted talent. You're not doing anything, you know. But if you have the ability and the desire and the determination to overcome barriers that you thought were too hard to get over, that perseverance to take you where, like I was saying, academic degrees might not necessarily take you. But you have to realize that what got you through high school and what maybe got you your first job is probably not going to be enough to take you where you eventually want to be at. You know, you're going to have to do more. You're going to have to learn to persevere. You're going to have to become educated, and you're going to have the drive and dedication to continue on to accomplish your goals. So perseverance is something serious, man. Perseverance will take you places that no amount of money, no amount of anything else, a person vouching for you will take you. You know, matter of fact, I'm gonna leave on this. Mm-hmm. I always tell people when you're in the workforce, not just perseverance, but professionalism. You know, when people try to take you out of character and they have these perceived ideas and views of who you are, staying professional will always help you to rise above whatever that issue is. And learning how to talk to people, effective communication, all of that is one ball that applies to perseverance. You know, because when you learn how to, matter of fact, 80% of finding new opportunities is done through networking. So when you learn how to talk to people, when you learn how to do different things, you're going to open yourself up and create new opportunities. And perseverance is going to push you over that final finish line when you think you don't have the energy or the drive to do
it. Gotcha. Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate that. Them words of encouragement, man, because like I said, we need it out here.
Oh yeah, yeah, man. I one thing I love to do is provide that love and compassion for people that I might not have received coming up.
Right.
You know, you could do anything you want through faith. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't have to believe in God. You know, just believe in a higher being and maintain faith that you can accomplish what you put your mind to.
Exactly.
And it's contagious, brother. So once one person see you doing big things, they either gonna be jealous and want to pull you down, or they're gonna see how your drive and perseverance is pushing you forward, and they're gonna start asking you how can they do it too.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well,
yes, sir.
Mr. Brock, man, I appreciate you, bro. This has been a great conversation, bro. And look, I'm gonna have to get you on a panel discussion one of these days. Like where we could really go in.
I'm here for it, man. I'm telling you, my lane.
Look, I know you held back a little bit on me tonight, but but you dropped some gems though, and I appreciate it, bro. Like I said,
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, brother. Yeah. That's all I need is opportunity, and I promise you, I'm not going to disappoint you, man.
Right. Thanks a lot, man. But
all right, brother.
Thanks a lot, but thanks everyone. Thanks everyone for listening. Like I said, this is Charlamagne. I had Mr. Fred Brock on tonight. Hey, until next time, hey, y'all be safe out there. Hey, keep your head on the swivel. Hey, everything. The holidays coming up. People looking for opportunities. So keep your head on the swivel. Know your surroundings. And
yes, sir.
Till next time. Hey, this is real Charlamagne. Peace.